Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ball Watching. We are back installed with our two co-hosts here. Justin has decided to change his ways and return to us. Justin, thanks for being here, buddy. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I can't really sleep in as much when I have a full-time job that I need to be at as well. So not that this isn't a big job as well.
That's true. That's true. You can't disrespect it. So, Justin, we usually do the five-a-side. I have two things I want to talk more about today, just as like things that happened with U.S. Open Cup, which we definitely missed not being in. But before we get into the KC and Vancouver of it all, wanted to talk about these two things. So these two things both happened last night, and one really cool, and two I don't think is cool. So I want to pitch these to you. I know you probably don't know these going into it, but last night Red Bull lost to Cincinnati in PKs of their U.S. Open Cup game. Yep. And at the 120 plus minute of overtime, they put Carlos Coronel, who's their goalie, their starting number one goalie, into the game as a field player in the 120 plus first minute. So he was entering as a field player, I believe, to take the fifth PK. They didn't get there because Cincinnati hit all five of theirs and they missed their first one. Speaking of, the guy who missed it was the guy that got the racist slurs and sat out for like 6 games. So a little bit of irony there. But what do you think about that? Inserting your real goalie, because your backup goalie is playing this game, your real goalie in for just like probably 30 seconds. It was a corner kick, actually, to just take the PK.
Question real quick. If you put him in as a field player, can you like switch goalies? Can you have two goalies? Like, what if you want to do one goalie for the first PK and another one for the second? Is that even an option?
That's a good question, because I'm sure you thought when I was mentioning this, they're just going to swap out the goalies.
Yeah.
But literally, Justin, the equipment manager had to go to the team store midway through the game, midway through overtime, to go print out this jersey. That's how bad they wanted to get this guy onto the field, into a field player's jersey. So he was donning the New York Red Bull red they were wearing with the number 1 on the back.
I mean, I'm not opposed to it because I think you can do it for regular field players. I think it's weird that it's a goalie that they did it with. Like, I know your feet are absolutely awful, so I would never put you in for that. But
hey, you know what?
I mean, maybe this guy can. I mean, I would say, if you look at like Roman Berkey's feet, he's probably got one of the best strikes on the team, besides like Leuven for like striking a shot. But as far as like placing balls, I'm not surprised by it.
Yeah. So to caveat what you just said, I was actually in high school our 5th PK taker as well. I would have never been subbed into a game to take that PK, though. It wasn't that important. My strategy is hit it as hard as I can, lean over the ball, and just the goalie's not stopping that. I'm not aiming this thing at all.
But it doesn't need to stop it because you're putting it just wide or high.
I'm putting it through him. That's what's happening. Yeah. Berkey, it makes me think about, because I also, being a goalie, I remember the club days when you were just playing an awful team or something and you're running up the score, and maybe I wasn't playing that game and I can go and get some minutes. They always just threw me in at like, I don't know, forward or like winger, and just go run around and have fun. It was the most fun, and it made me miss, like, why did I pick goalie? Because it's just not as fun.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think Berkey could slot in if he needed to.
Maybe next time we do PK takers who we'd put in our order from City. Next one.
I like that. I'm down. Yeah, we haven't had to do it yet, so we'll see. I'm down. Yeah, well, let's do that next time. And second, this one kind of more of just like you haven't earned that type moment, and this has happened twice now recently in MLS, is Ricky Puig. I call him Ricky Puig. He's the Barcelona guy that came over and joined the Galaxy. He's a child, and he's really, really good. And I say child, he's probably high teens, low 20s, and he was a product they had coming out of the Barcelona Academy. Big deal, and couldn't find enough minutes with Barcelona, so Galaxy signed him. Anyway, he's a pretty key cog in the Galaxy system, despite how poor they've been. And he made an excellent run yesterday and capped it off with a beautiful finish after beating a couple guys, just leave him in the dust. And what he did to celebrate was he ran over to the stands, took off his jersey, and held up the back with his name on the back, which is an ode to Messi doing that, the OG, a couple of years back. And it was an incredible celebration when it was first done. But he just did it last night against an LAFC team that was playing basically their entire number 2 team. And Jesus Ferreira did it, I think, last week after scoring a brace. And I just kind of feel like, I don't know what your thoughts are, this is getting a little overplayed. Like, it's not the same when you're doing it versus Messi doing it.
So I would agree with that. You don't know unless he said the reason. He didn't say why he did it. Like, was it unless he's doing it like a oh, this is for Messi kind of thing? Maybe like Messi's favorite player all time. But I will kind of caveat that with how many guys are doing the Ronaldo celebration and like
That's
stuff like
true.
that. Just because, and this one's a little bit more obvious because you're taking the whole jersey off, but celebrations are being stolen left and right. And
They are.
I'll spin this to a positive point. I really want to know what's going on with like the paper football thing with like Nico and Klaus doing like the paper football field goal thing.
So I don't know the specifics, Justin, but I think it's like an anime thing. Like there's a show that's really popular or made famous in where the characters do that.
I was gonna try to search it, but I don't even know how to
I'm
spell
sure
it.
someone in the comments or one of our listeners will be able to point that out to us. But my problem with this is that is saved for the GOAT. And the nature of it, taking your jersey off, taking a yellow card and showing your name to the fans. He wasn't saying this is a Messi thing, even though he did come from Barcelona. He was saying more so like he just gets a lot of crap from the fans that are super hard on him. And he remember the name kind of is like what he was doing. I feel like copying the Ronaldo and copying that celebration. And that's not really like the Messi celebration. He did it one time. I just feel like they're totally different things. And it's so cocky to do, especially against a team of 17-year-olds in a U.S. Open Cup match. But
also, you're scoring your own goal. Just kind of come up with your own thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
There's so many different things you can do. I mean, let's go back to the Iceland guys' age with like the dead fish and like pulling up the toilet seat. Let's do more cool stuff like that.
I agree.
Let's get some team celebrations like you do in the NFL.
Yep, we need some ingenuity. Those are just two things I saw in the Open Cup last night. Obviously, I miss us being in there. I wish we were, but I do think we're benefiting from the lack of midweek fixtures because we absolutely trounced KC last week, which we'll get into in 2 seconds here. And I don't know if you knew this, but Vancouver plays tonight in the Canadian Cup or Canadian Championship, which is their equivalent of the U.S. Open Cup. So they're going to be coming on tired legs as well.
Yeah, I was looking that up.
Yeah.
No clue on that. Last thing I want to say real quick before we get into all of it. On the goalie taking a PK thing, I would never put you in there, but I would for sure put Ben Yeager. I put him on the field. I put him to take any PK. That man can strike a ball. Shout out, Ben. Shout out.
Oh, wow. All right, a little slight there. I'll have to prove you wrong. We'll have to head out there at some point.
We already talked about that too.
So SKC, kind of final thoughts on this. For me, looking back on it, I feel like, you know how we talked about the blueprint to beat us and how people are kind of just copying each other's homework and just taking that to us. I feel like that was the blueprint for us to win as well. And yes, it came against some tired legs in KC and didn't look the most motivated, especially in the first half. But I think the combination of being able to create chances like Indy was able to do for us, minimal possession. I think we had less than 35% possession. Lethal with our goal scoring and our chances. We had 3 big chances created. We scored all 3 of them. And our effective press was on all night. Plus Berkey was the hero that he has been the last couple of games and most of the season. That to me is kind of our concoction to win games. And the only thing I really don't love there is the Berkey of it all. I do not think we should continue to ask him or to put him in situations like that to have to show out like that, because right now, this was put out by Tom Bogert, an MLS writer. He said that Berkey is currently far and away MLS's best in goals conceded minus XG. So he's at a negative 5.71, meaning the XG against him has been pretty crazy, but the goals against have not been. They have not been what is expected. So teams are underperforming significantly against him because of how great he's been.
And I think Taylor Twellman mentioned it on the actual the game when he was announcing it, and mentioned that we give up a ton of incredible chances to teams, and Roman Berkey is literally keeping us in this. And we mentioned it multiple times, and I saw your video as well, kind of thanking him again. But we could, on this stretch where we had 7 games, we won 1, lost 5, tied 1. We could have lost those 5 and or not won the game and or not tied the other game by multiple goals without him. So I would say huge props to Roman Berkey. Yes, I agree with you, Jake. We got to start helping him out more because the man's not young. He's got to be in an ice bath for a week after every game, and we need to step up a little bit more.
Yeah, it's like it's great that we know that he's capable of those things, but we should not be asking him to do that.
But the good bounce back is, and that what you have from Ryan Grass on Twitter, that was our 3rd MLS win by at least 4 goals this season, 4th if you count the U.S. Open Cup. The most ever in an MLS season is 4. Done by Atlanta in 2017. An inaugural MLS season is Atlanta in 2017. Yeah. And they only had 4 total, all in MLS play. So creeping up on that. We're only, 13 games in?
Yeah, no, it's impressive. I think we'll be able to get there, honestly. I think with how we play, I feel like it's kind of feast or famine with us sometimes. Either they're rolling in and we just absolutely demolish you, or it's going to be really close, or we're just not up for it. otherwise, some key takeaways I'm going to see continue in this next fixture against Vancouver is I want to see Indy in the attack. For me, I know they just kind of tried something new and they're not tied to just making that his position moving forward. But the way he played and the way he was able to create chances and kind of unlock the Gioacchini of it all, I need to see more Indy. It's like the SNL skit with Will Ferrell with the cowbell. I got to see more Indy, man. We just need more Indy up top. So I want that. And obviously Blum and Leuven, we talked about it. We've been singing their praises. We've been missing Blum for the time he's been out. But those two together in that kind of double pivot with such different skill sets, Leuven kind of doing both sides of the work and Blum just taking care of all the trash in the back, protecting our back four. I want to see that be our two in the midfield with Indy at the spear for at least until it doesn't work.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think nothing's getting past Blum. That man is winning every tackle. And then if he doesn't, then Tim Parker's coming in hot and cleaning it up. So I think they look great in that game. Looking back at it offensively as well, 7 different players, including all 4 goal scorers Saturday night, have multiple goals this season. And it's more than any other team in the league. That's from Jack on Twitter.
Yeah.
But otherwise, Jack, I think we've touched on Kansas City quite a bit. Is there anything else you really want to touch on before we
No,
power rankings?
I think it was a big staple win for us. So I'm super proud of the boys. Obviously, rank a team of the match day. We were present in there. We had Berkey, Indy, and Carnell. Oh wait, no, Carnell got snubbed. It was Berkey and Indy and Parker. Parker was a little bit of a surprise there, but he actually had a really great game. I think maybe went a little bit under the radar. He was really strong in the back and helped a lot with his distribution. I thought even Stroud and Gioacchini could have gotten a shout in there, but obviously MLS isn't going to throw in like our entire starting 11. So bummer for them, but obviously we're going to see a big presence from us there. Rankings, we did not slide. We did not move up. We stayed at 8 in MLS and we stayed at 7 in ESPN, which isn't surprising, but people are putting some respect on our names. Even MLS writer Joe Lowry gave our grade an A so far for this season. Not many teams got A's, by the way. He said no team has done better relative to preseason expectations than us, St. Louis. Yeah, we've had our fortunate bounces. We've had our string of luck, and we've had our rough patches as well. But we've won a bunch of games and given ourselves a padding to kind of take throughout the rest of the season. And the more and more that we win, the better that cushion gets. So, I mean, when you ask for how people were thinking about us in the very beginning, it was pretty bleak. And we've proven a lot of people wrong.
Dude, we were picked last or second to last in pretty much anything you saw on the internet. So, yes, we had our lucky bounces. I'm very happy that feels like forever ago that people were complaining about that. So I think we're completely past that. I mean, we had our little stretch, and now hopefully we're coming out of it. So let's get into it.
Yeah. So Vancouver don't want to sleep on. Recently, especially, they have not been great. When I say recently, I mean like last couple of years, but they're not a team to mess around with this year. They've been doing pretty well. But to give you some context on the club, so this iteration of the club began play in 2011 as the 17th team in the MLS. They replaced their Division II team of the same name in Vancouver, which they call that being a Phoenix club, which I think is super cool. I wish we were a Phoenix club. I guess I'd be like if we promoted as St. Louis FC or something like that, or if I don't know what else the equivalent would be, but that's what they call those types of transitions. But the Whitecaps have kind of been a thing in Vancouver for a while. They were in 2012 the first Canadian team to qualify for the MLS Cup playoffs. So they have that under their belt. And they've won 2 Canadian championships, including last year, where they did not have a great year in the MLS, but they won the Canadian championship, which is like I said, the US Open Cup equivalent in Canada. So impressive. I mean, they had to knock off, teams like Toronto, Montreal. I'm blanking on the other Canadian teams right now, but that's a pretty big thing. And fun fact, for any world soccer supporters, Alphonso Davies came out of the Whitecaps organization as a homegrown talent. This man is such a gem of a player, left back, left mid, left wing, whatever you want. He is a stud for Bayern Munich, and Vancouver sold him to Bayern for 22 mil. I bet he's worth north of 60, 70 now, maybe even more in this market, but he is a hell of a player, and they produce him.
Sorry, I was going to look up Alfonso's. You keep going. I'm looking up Alfonso's.
Get that market value for us. But anyway, this year they're looking to get back to the playoffs after failing to make it in the 2022 campaign. They had a really, really slow start. A lot of injuries mounted up. So they're looking to kind of rebound here. And last year for them, they only had 12 wins, 15 losses, and 7 draws. So they were close to the playoffs, about 4 points. Maybe in this current format they could have maybe squeaked in, but they had a negative 17 goal differential, which isn't going to do great for you. only 2 wins away from home, 11 losses. So that's where both of their losses come from. And I'm kind of hoping that we can keep that going because this year, also no wins on the road.
Yeah, so Alphonso Davies, flipping back to it real quick, we're 70 mil right now. So there's a $50 million increase since he left. He's also the main reason that Canada is where they are right now at a national standpoint for the national team. I mean, they have a lot of other guys up and coming, but he's kind of their superstar right now. So just kind of a nice little shout out for him. But 2023, like you said, 17 points, 4 wins, 4 losses, and 5 draws, 7th in the Western Conference, so a couple spots behind us. They're 4-1-2 at home, 0-3-3 away. 18 goals for and 14 goals against. Kind of seems like a high number, but now you realize we're 13 games into the season. It is pretty low, in my opinion. I think, what is that? They're giving up about a goal a game, but only scoring 1.5 a game or so. So
yeah,
I would say some of their key things that we looked at, and you have a couple lists out in here, and I'll let you kind of talk into the details of those. But when I was looking at Jake, when I was just looking at the MLS website, they started out with a loss to Real Salt Lake, a loss to San Jose, and then 3 ties. And then luckily they got to play Montreal and won 5-0. So their season was a slow start, complete opposite of us.
Yeah, they were in a rut, I think, to start, and now they've also played a couple of fixtures already with the home and aways. So teams like Dallas, teams like Minnesota, they've already played twice. They drew and lost against Dallas, and they drew and won against Minnesota. We couldn't beat Minnesota, so that was impressive for me. But to that game, so I'm watching that game, and I'm just thinking to myself, Minnesota actually came out to play in that game. Which they did not against us. Obviously, they totally tailored their approach and sat back and let us try to beat them. But this game with Vancouver is kind of a slugfest between the two, which I'm anticipating could be the case for Saturday as well. Because I don't think Vancouver is the team that's just going to batten up the hatches and try to see if we can overrun them in this game, because their greatest strength is their attack, and they are pretty dangerous. I mean, Montreal, they absolutely blew apart, and I'm not saying that no one can do that, but they also just beat Seattle last weekend. So that's a really big win, and they pummeled them.
I was kind of surprised. I think, at least in that game, like you said, I think when they set back on us, and sorry, I can't get the stats load, but it's one of those things. It was the first game where a team sat back against us, and I think it kind of threw us off against Minnesota. And I don't think that's going to be a reoccurring thing. I think that's the first time Carnell was like, oh, wow, I think we need to switch up our attack and how we're going to do things. I don't think Minnesota is that great of a team. So for them to do that, I'm not that surprised by, but sorry, I just want to get a quick touch.
No, you're good. You're good. The only thing that kind of took away from these games, besides them having a pretty sparked up attack, including some players we'll get to here in a second, is they get forward extremely quick. They attack in numbers and they cross like their lives depend on it. This team, I'm pretty sure, leads in crosses, and we'll get to that in kind of our stats breakdown. But they have some exciting players on the team. They've had some recent acquisitions that have made a big difference for them. But one of the players they have is Brian White, who's an American, 27-year-old American, never gotten – did I say American, 27-year-old American? Never gotten – he's American. Never gotten a sniff at the U.S. men's national team, but he's having a great season so far for them. He showed out in the USL after being drafted by New York Red Bulls. Earned his spot in the first team and then went to Vancouver to really cement himself as a day in, day out starter. And so far, he's got 4 goals this season, averaging 0.70 XG per 90. So almost getting close to a goal per game for this guy. He is scrappy as hell.
The next guy, Julian Gressel, he's a German. He's 29 years old. He was drafted by ATL, where he had 32 assists in 3 seasons there prior to moving to DC and now to Vancouver. 1 goal, 4 assists. He creates most of their big chances. You can see with those 4 assists, 11 is the highest so far for them. And he's the highest rated player on FootMob for Vancouver. Yeah. So he's a right winger. So another attacker, as you were talking about.
They just got him from DC over the summer, 2 big acquisitions. And he just switched his allegiance to USA as well. So if we ever did want to call on him, we could. He's eligible for U.S. men's national team.
I feel like everybody's doing that now.
Yeah. It's pretty trendy.
We're not. It's not like we're getting watered down. It's just everybody's like, hey, I kind of want to hop on this. The boys are young, up and coming, especially after all the Greg stuff. I don't know if they're flowing in after that, or it's just like, wow, we kind of had a little bit of a show at the World Cup. Now we're getting older. We'll talk about all that later, but I'm getting excited.
No, it's a good call out. I agree. Ryan Gauld is their Scotsman. He is left wing, kind of their attacking midfielder, 27 years old. So kind of on the prime age of these soccer players for their most their best players, I would assess, at least. And he was playing he's a Sporting CP midfielder, so that's a Portuguese side that's usually in the Champions League. Didn't get too much experience with them. He did come over to the Scottish Prem at some point as well, and then played in Portugal's second tier. But he had 8 goals, 7 assists last season, so kind of spread, and he does a lot of the creating for them as well. This guy is kind of what I read to be their magician. He can create the spectacular mostly out of nothing, and I think they're finding a good place for him so far this season and being really dangerous at the spearhead of that attack. He only has 1 assist so far, but he has the most chances created. So we said those big chances are Julian Gressel, and then those chances created are Ryan Gauld, and those two provide it from different sides of the field. So you have angles on both sides, left and right, coming from Vancouver. So honorable mention, Justin. I'll let you take this one because he's a SLU grad.
I was going to call you out for it. Well, you're a SLU grad as well.
Yeah,
But-
well, so SLU soccer. Yes.
Yeah. Honorable mention, Simon Betcher, SLU grad, 2022 Super Draft, pick number 16, should have been top 10. I think that's everything that I was reading. And when I was watching that, we had a couple of the boys, Patrick Schulte and Simon, and a couple other guys that were going in. And I thought he should have been top 10, slid to 16. Great pickup by Vancouver. 4 goals, 1 assist this season, 0.96 goals per 90. And that's because he is the fastest ever MLS player to score 4 goals in a total of 87 minutes on the field. So Simon Betcher, congratulations. I'm excited. I hope he gets to see some minutes this weekend. I think it'd be awesome for him to come back to St. Louis and play. I think he's played 9 games and started 3, so he's kind of in and out right now, but definitely someone to look for off the bench. If he does come on, he's going to be flying around.
They have 2 hot hands in center forwards right now, so it's tough for him to grab it because Brian White's playing just as well. But I guarantee we see Simon Betcher, if he's healthy, going into this game. So style-wise for the teams, is their head coach is Vanni Sartini. He's an Italian manager promoted internally by the club after they fired their head coach in August of 2021. He's really a type of coach that likes to deploy a 3-4-2-1, which you'll see them use sometimes. More recently, I feel like they've been using a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, depending on the team they're playing against. Really, though, the onus of what they're trying to do is they have an organized system kind of based on zonal marking. So instead of marking players and people, you mark spaces on the field in certain quadrants or areas. They do some high press as well. They generate some chances in the highlights I watch from them doing that, and they play very quick and direct. So a lot of shared elements of kind of what we like to do as well. And they like to create through the middle and counterattack as well. So they use their fullbacks to get some additional width and kind of whip in those crosses. So that's why they probably have so many crosses. And Ryan Gauld is kind of the puppet master for them. He kind of makes them all tick and creates a lot of those chances for them.
Quick thought when you said that zonal thing. I kind of love that for us. I feel like our breaking line passes, is that the correct stat? I feel like Tim Parker and Leuven lead the team in that. I know for sure. And I believe Leuven's up there for the MLS. So zonal passing, breaking lines, getting guys in behind, I think that'll be great.
No, I agree. And Justin, before we go into trends and storylines, we have some pretty exciting stuff for you there. But we also have some pretty exciting stuff in that. First of all, we built this city giveaway this past weekend for the home game. What did we receive, Justin? 146 entries after we double counted the ones that guessed the right goal scorer. So what, like 90 unique ones, right?
I thought it was over 100. Yeah.
Maybe even more. Wow. Incredible. Thank you all for entering that. And definitely hit the pitch up. They are the sponsor for this giveaway. They're the ones that let us do this and give you all a $50 gift card, which is dope. So we are going to spin the wheel. We put everyone's names in here, and we're going to see what gets spun out.
While it's spinning, I'll tell you guys, I did have a great time at the pitch on Saturday. I promise I did not close it down, and that's not why I was missing on Sunday, but the place is incredible. I did have a hard time leaving. So get there, and we're going to have T. Cowan 11 going there with $50. Congrats, T. Cowan. I don't remember if that's Twitter or Instagram, but
I don't
get there and use it.
We'll find him. T. Cowan 11. Congratulations. You've won yourself a $50 gift card.
I think a $50 gift card gets you like 4 frozen, maybe 5 or 6 frozen Irish coffees. So if you need help, give me a call.
That's the currency that you speak in is the frozen Irish coffees. I love it. Well, let's get into the trends and storylines, man. So Vancouver, like I said, you cannot sleep on this team. A huge W over Seattle in their rivalry match over the weekend. They will be on short rest for their Canadian Championship semifinal tonight versus Pacific FC, like you mentioned, Justin. Only other thing I'll mention before we get into some of the stats is I watched a lot of their highlights, and they are a team that's very vulnerable on set pieces. I think we were doing a lot of great momentum on that earlier in the season. We've kind of gotten away from that. towards the second half of so far of the season. And I want to see us return to, having really dangerous corners, really dangerous free kicks, Leuven and Vasilev probably being the main proponents of those. But that's a way we can hurt them. That's kind of what I was picking up on my kind of scouting. I'm sure Carnell is also armed with that information.
Let's see a goal out of Bartlett. I would love to see Bartlett get
down. I'm down.
And then getting into their offense, XG 1.89 per 90, second in the MLS, average of 1.38 goals for in a game. That's the fifth most underperforming team for goals for. So they are not doing as well as their XG, which means they're not finishing. And I think that goes with, I put in here, they have the third most shots in the MLS, 67 shots on goal, but only 18 goals compared to our 61 shots on goal and 26 goals. So we're converting at a higher rate. I think they're getting chances, but not as many good shots. And that probably has to do with a lot of their crosses.
I would agree. When you think about away specifically, they are the best team at XG away. They generate 1.53 XG away. Usually their goals, about a third of them come from the 11th to 30th minute. So they're more of a first half team. And then another 44% come from the 41st to 60th minute. So getting into the end of the first half, beginning of second half. So if you're City and you can try to lock it down and wrap up a clean sheet in the first half, I think you want to really prioritize that because this team kind of benefits from getting on the board quick. Almost all of their goals have come from inside the 18. They're number 2 in shots taken. So this team has no trigger timidness. They love to pull it and just let it fly. They also like to possess more as well. So we are going to be just fine with them doing that. And they get up the ball. They get up the field quick, man. This team is top 5 in both progressive carries and passes. So that's moving the ball, a certain distance towards the opponent's 18 or moving it into the 18 itself to be dangerous there. So this team is great at penetrating the defense, and they're able to also spray passes, medium and long passes. They're top 10 in both of those as well. So they've got a lot of accolades.
Yeah, but it just seems like a lot of through balls to get him to a shot that is a weak shot on goal. And Roman Berkey could pretty much stop that if he was laying down. I'm not too concerned with it. Defense, XGA, they 1.33 per 90, just outside of the top 10, but they're also above average in actual goals against of 1.17. So they are the most outperforming team in the MLS. So they are giving up higher chances, but not letting them in, which is something that I thought we would be kind of higher up in as well. Where are we at in that, Jake? Do you know?
I have it on here.
Just because I feel like we give up a lot of chances, but Roman absolutely saves the day. As you keep going, 1.68 in XG away. That's number 9 in MLS. About 50% of their goals against come in the 51st to 80th minute, so second half, which you love to bet scoring in second half.
I do.
They concede every 60 minutes in away games, typically 9 goals away a game, averaging 0.5 per match. Top 10 in shots against, actually on target in the MLS, and then 6th in tackles. Number 1 in the midfield, number 2 in attacking third.
So that kind of shows they have a bit of a press going on the tackles in the middle and attacking third. The 0.50, Justin, is the points per match. So right now in all of their away games, they only average 0.5 points per match, which is pretty bad. So that just highlights the stark difference between this team when they're playing overall, like home and away, versus just away, because away they are definitely weaker.
Yeah, they've had, and that's very easy math. They've had 6 games and 3 draws and 3 losses.
Right. Getting into us, obviously coming off a huge team win. A lot of great performances were put in. Another full week of rest, which we'll benefit from and be able to play against a team that does not have that luxury. Otherwise, availability, it's still looking iffy, especially for men like Klaus and Alm, where we're going on Klaus has missed 4 games in a row. Alm has missed 3. And I honestly do not think we're going to have them play any role in this game either. Klaus, it sounds like something's just lingering there, which kind of freaks me out. Like just one of those injuries that seems to not go away. And it's, to me, getting to a point where, like, do you need to do something about it? Or is this going to be just an extended sequence on the bench or not even playing until he feels confident in his body and his abilities? Because it's kind of spiraling a little bit.
Take our time. I'm fine with that.
I agree. I do not want to be aggressive.
Boys are humming. We have plenty of guys that are ready to step up. Not saying we don't need Joao Klaus, but let's keep rolling with it. I'm fine with it.
100%.
Getting into that with the offense and what we're going to do without them. XG, we're 1.49 per 90. That's 10th in the MLS. We're average of 2.17 goals, a 4 per game, which is number 1 in the MLS. So we have higher points per game of 2 and goal differential of plus 11 at home. So obviously we play better in front of the fans that we have here. Higher home XG of 90 per 90 of 1.55, which is the 14th in the MLS, and higher shot conversion rate of 23%.
Yeah, we're averaging a goal every 34 minutes at home, which is what a gift to the City fans. That's incredible. We score about 23% of them right before halftime. Or right after halftime, and then another 23% between the 71st and 80th minute. So definitely a strength in the second half, like you just mentioned, Justin. We have the least amount of passes attempted by far. And just a little learning lesson there is we talked about this, I think, a couple times, but we don't care about the passing numbers or volumes for us. We care about the penetration and the goals put on the board. And Vancouver has, just for example, they're not the number one team, but they have 2,000 more passes so far this season than us on the same amount of games played. I think actually maybe one less because of the FC Dallas rain out situation, but still we're not going to get anything close to that. But that just that's not what we prioritize, and we don't need that. But just a fun fact is how different that is.
Full circle, put it in perspective, going back to the Kansas City game, we had 34% possession. We only completed 174 passes.
It's crazy.
They had 66% possession and completed 415. Look where that got them.
Yep, exactly. No, it's a great point. It's a great point. It's a learning opportunity for people listening in here. Like the passes do not mean much.
It's all about your style of play.
It is.
And we're running gunning. So,
and for us, defense, you just mentioned it, and I'll hit it here. Is our expected goals against is 1.56 per 90, which is bottom 10 in the MLS. So not great, but the goals we're allowing against is 1.08 per 90 right now, which ties us for 8th in the MLS. So we're definitely outperforming our XG, and I'd probably look at Berkey for most of that reasoning. Otherwise, we have a lower XG against, though, when we're playing at home. Not surprising. We have a average goal against of about 108 minutes when we're playing at home. And in our games we've played at home, 33% of them have been clean sheets. So looking to notch another one in Berkey's book on Saturday. But you see just how strong we are at home, both offensively and defensively. Both our numbers and stats just get inflated.
And that's all due to the fans. And we're going to have another great day on Saturday. It's going to be sunny, high of 82, low of 55. Get out there and show out, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk starting 11, Justin.
Yeah, hop in there. As you're pulling it up, I'll plug socials. Everybody that's already in here, we appreciate everybody giving us the comments live. Feel free to DM us throughout the week. You don't have to wait for the actual episode to come. We're taking notes during the week. If you have questions, topics, anything you want us to talk about, please like, subscribe, do it all. It helps us get some more notice as we're trying to grow here and with our sponsors as well. Shout out to The Pitch. Shout out to Series 6. Kind of have another small one in the works from one of our buddies. We'll talk about that one in the next coming episodes or so. But Jake's got it pulled up for the actual starting lineup.
Yeah, so on the screen, you're looking at a 4-2-3-1, which is similar to what we did on Saturday. And I think Berkey, obviously, in net. I think you go with the same back four if you're Carnell. Why broke something that isn't – why fix something that isn't broken if you're him? I feel like, yeah, you do get Nelson back, which is a boost at left back. Obviously, they didn't go with Pedro in this last game. They were even thinking about going to Jonathan Bell, so I wondered the status of Pedro. But I do think you go back to Kyle Hebert at left back here just for comfortability and seeing what just happened. Parker, Bartlett, and Nerwinski round out the back line. Would you change anything, Justin?
I would politely disagree with the why broke if it fix it stuff from you. I would go with Johnny back at left back, and that's nothing to Kyle. I think Kyle did fine, and I'm still saying it. I don't think it'll happen, but I really would rather see Hebert on the right and Nerwinski out. If you had to give me a choice between Johnny and Nerwinski, I'll take Johnny. And I know you talked about it. Kyle's a lefty, so it's kind of hard putting him on the right, but it's fine. He'll get up.
I would see Hebert on the right side too. Try that out.
And then as you work into the midfield, we already talked about Leuven and Blum being our holding guys. There's nothing that should change there. Indy is the point man. I love it. And this is where it can kind of get more interesting. And then Nico up top. We know that, but right and left wing. You have Celio on the left, Ostrak on the right. Give me your thoughts.
I still want Celio coming off the bench, but given what's going on right now with no Alm, because I think Alm is the most locked-in winger that we have in terms of just how he's played so far this season when he's been available. He's, to me, the first man on the winger team sheet. And I think Stroud is number 2, but I saw Stroud and maybe picked up a knock as well. So that's the only reason he's not on here right now. If he is healthy, I'm going with Celio back on the left and Stroud back on the right. If Stroud is going to miss, I'm going with Ostrak on the right, or maybe Aziel Jackson if you're feeling a little bit like you want to try something new, because he's been able to play the winger position before. So there'll be some differences probably in the wings.
I think that's fair. Let's get quickly into predictions as we're getting kind of close on time here.
Yeah.
Jake, what is your prediction of the game on Saturday against Vancouver at 7:30 at City Park?
Yeah, my prediction is this one's gonna be a tough one, and I think there's gonna be goals. And what I have written down here is a draw at 2-2. I think Vancouver has enough to be defensively pretty stout, and I think we have enough to at least put a couple by them. But I do think their attack is really strong, and it's going to be a tough game on our fullbacks and center backs and Blum as well to keep this attack contained. So I've got 2-2 as my prediction here.
I've got a 3-1 dub. I think we're humming. The boys are going to be hot, coming in, staying at home for a full week, sleeping in their own bed. That's huge. I think my man of the match is going to be this one. Jake, I'm calling it that right now. We start predicting that too. Mine's going to be Blum. I think Blum is going to be the reliever that takes a lot of that pressure off of Berkey. I don't think he's going to let these guys get those through passes in the final third that we already talked about that they've been so good about. So I'm going to go with a 3-1 dub by a couple of goals, and I'm going to take a Celio goal in this one coming off the bench or starting.
I like it. I like the calls. Those are a lot more granular than mine, but I like it. The specificity is good. Bets, Grahammers around the town. We've got City at plus 110 money line, Vancouver at plus 200. So we are a favorite rolling into this, and the draw at plus 260. Over 2.5 at minus 145, under 2.5 at plus 115. That Vegas is telling you got to hit the over here.
That's the high. That's the most juice we've seen on the minus 2.5 for sure.
Yeah. So my Grahammer for the game, I'm torn because I wrote down a couple things here because I'm just like,
I know.
I'm gonna go.
We need to have you call that number that they do when you have a problem. A gambling problem?
No. I do not have a problem, but I do have a bet for you all. And I'm going to lock in first half over 1.5 goals at plus 150. So if you want to make a little bit of money and you're thinking like me, there's going to be some goals in this game, we see Vancouver is dangerous in the first half. So are we. I think we scored more in the second half, but we're still dangerous in the first half, like you saw against KC. So I'm taking at least 2 goals to be scored in the first half at plus 150.
I like that. So I'm going specifically for the Grahammer. As of right now, nothing's up on DK because there's a lot of other games being played with the Open Cup and everything else in the middle of the week. But right now on FanDuel, City over 1.5, a specific, again, same bet, minus 102. I don't think I will ever not bet this when we're at home. I know Vancouver's only given up like about a goal a game or so, but they have 3 ties and 3 losses on the road. They don't know what they're coming into. I don't even know how many people live in Vancouver. Do they even get packed stands? Do they know what stands are like? Because no one has a clue what it's like until they get here. So I'm excited.
It's true. They're going to be shocked when they hit City Park. We had a good comment in here, Justin, on the corners. Obviously, they have, I think, some of the most corners in the league.
They have the most in the league. Yes, yeah. I meant to mention that as well.
That could be a good prop as well.
By Kevin. So that is another one. Keep an eye on that because I think they have the most, and I'm not going to be able to pull it up in time. And I think we have like the 5th most. So corners is a great one. So great call, Kevin.
Yeah. Otherwise, that's all we have for you all today. Thanks for tuning in on YouTube. If you're listening here, shoot us a like, shoot us a subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast, throw us a rating, throw us a review. 5 stars, please. Otherwise, thank you to you all for listening. We've met some cool people recently. Justin, I know you met some at the game. I met Aaron at the kick around the open practice last week. So shout out to Aaron and anyone else we've met. It's been great seeing you all.
Yeah, I met Brett. He found me. We were just getting beers at the Cardinals game. He goes, "Are you Justin? Are you ball watching?" I'm like, "Oh, this is awesome." So we really appreciate it. Feel free to say hi to us at the games, or you see us out and about at the bars, whatever. Appreciate just talking soccer anytime.
This is just, we're trying to make this more than just a pod, but more so a community, and we appreciate you all. And thanks all for entering the giveaway too. That was dope to see all those entries, and hopefully Colwyn, I believe it was, enjoys the 50 to the pitch. We will see you all this weekend. Just, I know you're heading out of town, so you won't be there in person, but I will be at the pitch, definitely in the post game to make an appearance on the KMOX radio show there. So stop by if you're in town there. But thank you all for listening. This is Ball Watching. Jake and Justin signing off.
All for City.